And so a lot of our family justice centers, they create what we call mapping, and they do these kind of like pinpoints of all of the places that a victim will have to go in order to be serviced because they have been abused by their abuser. And so for me, it wasn't enough to do a map because, someone may look at this slide and say, well, it's not a lot. But let's kind of send this message home. So I kind of created this illustration and just kind of follow along with me for a few moments. So if we are a victim, and let's say we start out, I'm just a victim, I have a job, and that icon on the end, that's bills, that resembles bills and responsibilities that I have. So if I'm a victim and I become victimized by my abuser, there are a lot of things that I have to take into account. So I have to go back to this screen and say, I've been victimized. So now, do I seek medical treatment? Because the first thing I have to do is call my employer and tell them that I can't make it to work because I got a black eye, a busted lip, missing tooth, college, whatever it may be. And now I have to think about, am I going to file a TPO? Because my abuser is still in the home. And if the abuser is still in the home, I gotta think about self-preservation. So do I file a temporary protective order? And do I call the police? Because if I call the police, that's going to anticipate more aggression from my abuser. And then we're not going to talk about counseling because in the beginning, counseling is not even a thought because I just got to survive this moment. And then I got to think about legal aid. And then I got to think about if this doesn't work out, if I have to get out of this house, now I got to go to public assistance. I might have to go meet with the DA if I file a police report or the Solicitor General. I might have to go to safe shelter. And this is just one person. And then if I follow all of these steps, now I gotta go to court. And then I might need to get a TPO extension after I file the first TPO. And then when we finally get to a place where I can even consider counseling, that's an ongoing process. So let me back up for a second. So now let's say that I'm a victim and I have children and I have employment and then I still have these same bills and responsibilities. So now I have to place my victimization on the back burner and think about the children. Where am I going to place my kids? Am I going to send them to school? And since we're in a pandemic, are we going to let them get on Zoom? Because we just heard mom or dad being abused the night before. How do we help our children navigate this? So then we go back to this slide and say, okay, now we have victim and children. And so now do we go to medical treatment? How do we get the kids there? How do we keep this private so that we can maintain some of our dignity? And so are we going to do a TPO if our abuser has now threatened to harm me and the children? How does that work? How do we seek public assistance? How do we go to all of these things? Safe shelter? So what if the shelter is filled? What if we don't have any place to go? What if the shelter tells us that, hey, you got to pay for this? And so what if I don't have any resources because my abuser controls the funds? What do I do? So then we go back. Let's say that this is the victim with children, no transportation, and now we have to rely on public transportation. Now we go back. How do we get out from one town to get to the resources that are essentially located in one area? How do we get medical treatment with the children? We don't have transportation. We're going on public transportation. And how about the time? And what happens if we do file a police report and they tell us to go somewhere and that's not the place to go? And what happens if we do file the temporary protective order and they tell our abuser that they have to go? What if they stalk us and the children? What if they find us at my mother's house? And so then we go back. What if this is a victim, children, no car, and there's a disability? Where's the assistance? Because guess what? All victims got to go back through this process because they need help, they need support. What are they going to do? And so let's say that this is a victim where there's a language barrier. Where do we send them? Where do they go? Because they still have to go through all of these steps. And sometimes the journey is longer for some than others, but nonetheless, the journey still stands the same. And so what if I'm a victim with an immigration issue? Does my victimization now mean less because my immigration status is not really clear? I'm human, I still need medical treatment, I still need support, I still need assistance. And so the illustration for this was more critical for me because it doesn't matter what space that you're in as a victim, it's all impactful. And so when we ask why Cobb, why Family Justice Center, because we have the opportunity to make this illustration look much better. We have the opportunity to have this Family Justice Center where any one of these victims, because what I know is that domestic violence does not have a respect of person. It doesn't care about your economic status. It doesn't care about the color of your skin. It doesn't care about your sexual preference. It doesn't matter what side of the tracks you are on. Domestic violence has no respect of person.